I was done with George Pickens after a Steelers win up against Tennessee on a Thursday night football game, where after the game where he failed to secure a catch that would have been a touchdown, he had the audacity in a win, let me remind everyone one more time, to post "Free me" on Instagram. That was childish, it was unnecessary, and it was diva-like behavior from one George Pickens. And George Pickens, let's just call it for what it is. He is selfish, and he only cares about himself. And he has the potential to be a great wide receiver, but he already thinks he's great. And right now, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, and he's not worth the headache. And right now, when you see the one incident happen, all right, young player, maybe he could learn from it, from the whole "Free me" incident. But then there's a viral clip of George Pickens failing to block against the Colts on Saturday when Jaylen Warren is running as hard as he could, and you get inside the 5-yard line, and you have two Colts defenders near Jaylen Warren, and what is George Pickens doing? He's just standing there, and he's not giving a rat's ass. So they asked him about it afterwards, and he goes, "Oh, I was just not trying to get hurt." Are you bleeping kidding me? Because here's why your argument is ridiculous. And don't tell me you were trying to prevent the Tank Dell situation that happened 2 weeks ago with the Texans. Because we all know if there was a ball that was thrown your way, and maybe because the Steelers have bad quarterbacks, it was thrown a little bit too far, if you thought you could make the catch and dive and extend your body to go reel in the catch, even though you were maybe going to get hit or you were going to hit the ground hard and you could have suffered an injury, you would have done it. Why? Because it would have boosted your stats. Why? Because it would have boosted your ego, and it would have had everyone saying, "Oh, what a catch, what a play by George Pickens." Part of being a receiver is not only catching the ball, but also blocking. And for him to have the audacity afterwards to just openly admit, not even have a good excuse, not even do like a dog ate my homework or come up with something, but to actually admit that you just didn't want to get hurt, he's got to be benched. And now I turn my attention to Mike Tomlin, because Samter informed me during the break that Mike Tomlin said he's not going to get benched. And they're going to play him this weekend. Mike Tomlin, who's a well-respected coach, I know he's somewhat on the hot seat right now, but do you have any accountability in that locker room? Like Mike Tomlin, you've dealt with much worse. You had to deal with Antonio Brown. You had to deal with the jackassery of Chase Claypool as well. You know, this is easy stuff for you now. You're used to dealing with these things. But George Pickens, every time he opens his mouth, he's saying something stupid. With the "Free me" stuff in a win, and now, "Oh yeah, I wasn't blocking because I wasn't trying to get hurt." You can't allow that to happen. And what about the other guys in the locker room? You know, I know the Steeler team isn't some great team this year, but if those other teammates have pride and they actually care about what they do, how do they go to battle? How do they go to war with George Pickens this week when he's not willing to give it his all? Like, why would another guy start checking out and start making business decisions as well when you're this late into the season, when you're trying to turn your season around? It's inexcusable. And for Mike Tomlin to say that he's not going to bench him, I just can't support that. And it's once again showing that even though Tomlin is a phenomenal coach and would get a job tomorrow, maybe it's time for a change with the Steelers. Could you imagine Hines Ward, the great Hines Ward, saying, "Yeah, I'm taking a play off. I didn't feel like blocking." No, Hines Ward would hit you in the mouth, and it'd be the proudest moment of his career. And this is ridiculous. And I don't know if it's a leadership issue. I don't know if no one can contain George Pickens, but it's a guarantee. This guy will get traded this offseason. There is no doubt about it. Tomlin back or not, who's going to want to put up with this guy? He was bitching earlier in the year about a win, saying "Free me," and now all of a sudden, yeah, I don't feel like blocking because I don't want to get hurt. And don't be one of these dopes today that goes, "Oh, he's thinking about what's in the best interest of himself. Oh, George, I wouldn't want to get hurt either." Stop it. This is football. You make a block. It's a simple part of your job. And you know what? I don't want to hear him use that injury as a potential excuse, because he'll make catches and he'll take big hits. You could get hurt that way as well. It is just so ridiculous and how the Steelers continue to enable him and don't hold him accountable, you got to sit his ass down. You got to pay him whatever, suspend whatever you want to do. I don't care. Whether you can suspend him or not because of the CBA, it's a totally different conversation. But you don't have to play him. You could pay him. You don't have to play him. And playing him this weekend would be an absolute embarrassment. And it would go against everything the Steelers stand for. The Steelers used to be a gold standard organization in the NFL. One of the more respected organizations in the NFL. Synonymous with winning. And now you're allowing George Pickens to openly say, yeah, I wasn't blocking someone. I wasn't giving it my all because I was afraid I was going to get hurt. And you're allowing him to get away with this? This is a young player. You just went through something similar with Chase Claypool, who, in his first season had 10 touchdowns? And then he talked himself out of Pittsburgh? And now George Pickens, who has an enormous amount of talent. Remember everyone before the season, Pickett to Pickens, this is going to be special, this is going to be wonderful. Yeah, those takes didn't age well, but that's a different topic of conversation for another day. But now you have a teachable moment to a young player who doesn't get it, and you're going to let him skate free? It doesn't matter what Tomlin says behind the closed doors. It doesn't matter what Tomlin said, even when he condemns him in this presser. You're letting him play. You are letting him play in his next game. Take football away from him this week because he doesn't want to be a football player. He just wants to be a selfish wide receiver on the field that only cares about his individual stats and doesn't care about the team. That's what George Pickens is about. I don't want to block. I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt. Then don't call yourself a football player. Don't be on the field because there's a bunch of other guys that would like to block and like to get the paycheck that you're getting and give it their all and probably would do a better job than you would do. And I've seen videos before of George Pickens blocking. We've seen it before. This is something new. So now, by not sitting him down and by playing him, he's going to think this is okay. And he's going to get away with it. Oh, yeah. They slapped me on the wrist behind the scenes. Maybe they made me run a few sprints in practice. Mike Tomlin gave me a stern talking to. But they didn't sit me down. And, I would love to talk to Jalen Warren. And I feel bad for him. You want to go to battle with George Pickens? You feel good with George Pickens? When you're trying to go get a touchdown and you're 3-4 yards out, George Pickens is standing there with basically just playing with the thumbs? That's what we're doing now? It's ridiculous. Like Samter, I'll play the audio in just a second from Pickens and from Tomlin. But when you're trying to get a team back to a spot where they were, I'm not saying everyone's going to be all in 24/7. But this isn't like skipping some training in the offseason or for voluntary OTAs not showing up. When you're on the field and you're a receiver and you're asked to block, that's mandatory. And you don't want to block because you're afraid you're going to get hurt? I don't want you on my team. And I'd sit your ass down and I would not play him this week. That is ludicrous to me. As Emmitt Smith would say, it makes me hot. It makes me mad that they're going to play this guy this weekend.
The only thing I would say to that, because I'm with you as well, dude. I think it's ridiculous. I think that they have to send a message. But I'm also not in that locker room, right? Mike Tomlin seems to have a pulse of his players. He seems to understand and know what motivates and how to get to his players. Now, maybe this year it's not working quite as well. But okay. Mike Tomlin, the one thing you can always say about Mike Tomlin is he has the respect of his players, and he respects his players, and he talks to them, and he's like a player's coach in the sense that he communicates well with his players. That's something.
But there's respect there. Yeah. It's not a doormat.
Yes. So my thought is that Mike Tomlin has a better understanding of what it is that's going to work for George Pickens than we do. Now, it's a very easy thing to say. He's not blocking. He's not taking accountability. Let's bench him. Mike Tomlin's probably thinking on a much deeper level of, okay, I know this kid. I've been with him for 2 years. I've seen him work. I know what makes him tick. I know what motivates him. I know what doesn't motivate him. So maybe he's thinking on I don't know. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he knows better than we do. However, on the surface, it is a terrible look
Yeah.
that George Pickens is playing.
Yeah,
it's a terrible
brutal.
look that he's not taking accountability. And it's a terrible look that Mike Tomlin and the rest of the team is not making him take accountability. So it looks bad on the surface. I'm just hoping that I'm just giving Mike Tomlin the benefit of the doubt
Mike
that
Tomlin
he knows
knows
better than
this. If George Pickens got benched this weekend, I don't think George Pickens ever listens to Mike Tomlin again. But if that's why you're not punishing him, you already know that this relationship is fractured beyond repair. Whether you play him or not this weekend, I think George Pickens is trying to force his way out this offseason. He's going to demand a trade. And really, he has no leg to stand on to demand a trade, and I wouldn't trade for him because he has all the talent, but he seems like a royal pain in the ass and a headache that isn't worth the production that we're seeing on the field. Let's go to Mike Tomlin. This is on George Pickens dealing with the media as of late.
I would like him to be more professional in terms of addressing some of his shortcomings with you guys to further add fluidity to the process. He's not helping himself. He's not helping the process in the manner in which he's dealt with you guys. But the manner in which he deals with you guys is not necessarily the manner in which he deals with us or himself regarding acknowledging where he is and where he needs to go.
That makes no sense. He is just talking to talk. You know, he gave us all what we wanted in the beginning. You know, I'd like him to talk better to the media and clarify what he's saying and all that. But then after that, there's like this great separation between the media and the fans, right, grouped together, and then what's going on inside that locker room. Like the locker room is sacred, and we can't understand what goes on in the locker room. Heck, let's say I was an offensive lineman, or I was Jalen Warren, or I was another wide receiver on that team. You think I'm happy with George Pickens? Oh, George, why didn't you try to help Jalen Warren out there? Oh, I was afraid of getting hurt. Well, here I am busting my ass, and I could get hurt, but I'm still giving it my max effort. That's why it's ridiculous. Don't give me that, oh, there's this locker room, and we can't understand what's going on in the locker room. Tomlin knows better than that. And Tomlin knows Pickens is in the wrong, and for whatever reason, he's not willing to punish him. Here is Mike Tomlin on the lessons that George Pickens could learn.
When you're winning and doing your jobs, man, a lot of the attention and so forth is on things such as that. When you're not doing your job and losing, you better keep your damn mouth shut and understand that that tracks a certain type of attention as well. And usually that's vulture-like attention.
Well, Mike, he ran his mouth when you guys were winning with the freebie, and he still ran his mouth while you were losing. So it goes both ways. This guy just runs his mouth. It's verbal diarrhea over and over and over again from George Pickens. And he only cares about himself. That's all he cares about. Oh, I'm not blocking because I don't want to get hurt. Bull crap. Absolute bull crap. Because I'll say it again. You throw him a ball that's 3 or 4 yards out of his reach, he'll extend for it because it increases his personal brand. He didn't want to block. And that's why you need to sit this guy down. How do you not get that? As a veteran coach who's been in this league as a head coach since 2007, has coached in 2 Super Bowls, has won a Super Bowl, how do you allow George Pickens to get away with this? This is now 2 times he's been a dope this year. After a win against Tennessee, oh, free me. How about you get your second foot down and catch the damn ball, George Pickens? And now after a loss, after you were up early and you had, 30-something points scored on your ass? George Pickens refused to block, and you're letting him just get away with it. Man, how the Steelers have fallen. It's embarrassing. Have some accountability. This is a young guy that has a lot of talent, and he's going to talk himself out of the league because his attitude is horrendous. His attitude is embarrassing. And I wouldn't want him on my team because all he cares about is himself. He doesn't care about the team. And that's not how you win in the NFL. And I could put up with selfish players, but you better be putting up better numbers than what George Pickens has given you. What a joke. Well, what a disgrace. And I'm disappointed in Tomlin for basically allowing him to get away with nothing.